Okay, so I think it might be fair to say that set and forget seems to be almost the default attitude when it comes to keys, at least, yeah, and then they're suddenly needed. But it's not really a healthy approach. Is that a fair characterization of what goes on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the same for software as it is for enterprise devices is that you you don't realize how important it is until a certificate expires or somebody leaves your business and you don't know how to perform a signature like that person did before they left. So be having key pairs and certificates set up, and thinking that that's the battle, is a little bit naive, and really it's less than half the battle. It's really about having that capability to perform signing in an evergreen type way, and set and forget therefore doesn't achieve that because certs have to expire, you have to get new ones. Standards are changing all the time, and therefore you have to stay on top of it and you have to stay secure, or else if you're not moving forward, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I think, if you add into that sort of scenario, that you say regulatory technology changes are sort of, if not always happening, they're certainly fairly frequent. So that just sort of adds to the, shall we say, the irresponsibility, if that's the right word, of not paying, due attention to security. Is that too harsh, or do you think it's as serious as that?
No, and look, I think regulations have had to step in to the industry with regards to companies that deliver software, because for too long they've been self-policed. And I mean, you just have to read the technical news to see on a daily basis the different outages, the different attacks, the different vulnerabilities, and a lot of that is driven down to the fact that sometimes security is an afterthought, sometimes it's an oversight, and other times it is just another thing that is asked of our developer community to say, well, you guys are so smart and you're so good at everything, we'll also make things secure. And I don't think we give them enough support. I think we need to give them better insights into why that's important. Developer teams probably need to be scaled up to cater for that extra and additional responsibility around security. So, oh no, I mean, regulations are doing a good job here, but we would have been better if they didn't need to step in.
Yeah, and just couple of well, one for example. I mean, I think that I'm right in saying the certificate authority browser forum. I won't say keeps changing, but it has changed. For example, minimum key lengths, several
Yeah.
times in the last few years, which I guess is an acknowledgement that they've needed to change in order to continue the security. And then I mean the other, I won't say it's the elephant in the room because I know everyone knows about it, but you've got quantum threats on the
Uh-huh.
horizon which are potentially going to kind of rewrite the rules. So I
Yeah.
guess the message is if you're not taking keys and key management seriously, then there's a whole world of pain sort of waiting around the corner. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. So, before all the quantum challenges, we'd seen the CAB Forum for Public Trust Code signing make changes to secure the practices of software developer engineering teams, right? The first one was, I think, back in 2021. The key size of an RSA key was allowed to be 2048. That was too weak in terms of standard computers being able to brute force attack those before the minimum 3 year validity of a cert was reached. So therefore, the CAB forum said, no, we have to increase the strength of those keys. We went up to 3072-bit. And but that was only just one step. So that was around, standard computers being able to brute force attack. Then a great addition that the Cab 4 made was, well, you can't just have keys unprotected on your build servers, on your developers' machines anymore. You must store them in FIPS compliant storage or services that align with that. And the reason for that is, well, if they're in there, they can't be extracted. Um, and I mean, those are the same conditions under which quantum computing is now going to really just have the same effect only on steroids. And that's because not only is quantum computing going to be able to solve these mathematical problems much quicker, but you actually have to change the game. And that's why these new these new algorithms from NIST have been approved, because they're a different set of mathematical solutions to the same problem. And quantum computers are going to struggle with that because of the nature of that mathematical solution. And therefore, we're moving away from RSA and ECDSA, and it's only a matter of time before um, organizations have all moved away from those algorithms. NIST say 2029 is when you have to have it done by. That's their guidance now. But you just don't wait till then. Now is the time to start planning, doing proof of concepts on all your products and services, and getting ready for that.
Yeah, and in terms of that, I guess the starting point is the classic. If you don't know what you've got, you don't know sort of, if you like, what to do about it. So,
Yeah.
is it? You'll know better than I, but I have a feeling that a lot of organisations, if not the majority, probably just don't know how many assets they have that are, when you particularly you're talking about making them quantum ready. So, or even where they're located. So how much of a challenge, I guess, is it to actually, identify all of the relevant assets in the first place before you then start, working out what you need to do?
Oh, it's a huge challenge. And like again, if you think about a complex organization that will have multiple software products with different engineering teams working on it, they could be in different geographic locations. Some will have joined the organization through mergers and acquisitions, new products being spun up, and the modern environment is we need to do things faster, right? So agile approach to software development, where we're releasing, daily or weekly instead of a waterfall approach, which might have been quarterly or twice a year. And therefore, these engineering teams are being asked to go faster. And part of that is, well, we need to get things set up and we need to be able to sign. And the convenience around that was, well, engineering teams, like they do because they're awesome, will go out and solve the problems themselves, and they'll get a vault or a token, or they'll get a certificate from some CA. And there's inconsistency then, because if you think about one team doing that and you've got 20 teams doing it and they're all doing different things, then you have absolutely no knowledge of where things are, because one team could be working on Azure, another could be working on AWS, someone else is going out and buying hardware, and then yeah, everything's distributed and nobody knows where it is. And really only things go wrong again when something breaks, right? Someone needs to sign an urgent piece of software, a cert's expired, or somebody's left and they don't know where the key is. I mean, that's disruption to business from a day-to-day operations perspective, because then things have to stop, right? Engineers hate having to go back and fix things and do rework. And it interrupts their day-to-day planning and the day-to-day planning of the business, because the business is depending on them to release new software to drive features which will grow revenue. And if they are focusing on fixing things, which is not really growing revenue, but trying to stop a reputational damage, or to stop a customer screaming at them, then they're moving away from that objective, and that can hit the bottom line. It can, if they're a public company, it could impact their stock, their share price, and so it's just not core to what uh, organizations wish to do, and it's got a huge negative impact then.
And in terms of what's need to be done, as I mean, as I understand it, obviously, as you've indicated, when something goes wrong, people kind of then address it. And I guess, cross fingers, as long as too much doesn't go wrong, it's a pain, but you can address it. But
Yeah.
as we've already referred, when the post quantum world hits, then everything needs to be changed. So, is it right to say that people need to start looking at their key management now, just simply
Yes.
to understand the sheer volume potentially of work that's required? And as you say, it might be 2029, but we're already sort of into 2025, etc. So it's not like you can
Yeah.
sit there and say, okay, we'll look at it in 2027, 2020. Now is the time to start really getting to grips with key management and the associated issues. Is that right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So, look, you can only really, get your arms around the problem when you know what you have, right? So it's about doing that inventory, discovering where everything is, even if the answer is not a good answer, it's better to know where things are and what state they're in, and start tracking that. But when we start to work with customers, what we generally advise them is to be able to put them all into the same place, right? To bring, you don't have to ask the developer teams to stop using the tools that they're using, right? So they may be using Jenkins or GitLab or something like that from a CI/CD perspective. Some are doing container signing, others are doing executables and jars and DLLs. I mean, nothing has to change there, but the keys and the certificates used to sign that should be stored in a place that a security person has oversight in. And what also that helps with is that we see, regulations coming in. We've seen the FDA in the US for healthcare medical devices. We've seen DORA in Europe, driving regulations around there. You now need to be able to provide evidence around what your team is doing day to day, right? So if you have all your keys in a place that's trackable and you know who is doing what and when, then automatically you're solving for some of those regulatory requirements today. But like you said, we still have to get ready for what's coming in the future, where we must change those algorithms to the NIST approved ones. And that's regarding the keys and the certs. And so if you know where everything is, then you can make plans, right? You can build in some automation there to say now is the time to switch from RSA um, to Sphinx or one of the other algorithms, whichever one is going to align to your business need.
Okay, and in terms of digital, I mean, you've obviously explained there what it is you recommend to customers in terms of, you know, where to keep everything, I suppose. But what else is it that you do? You know, it's a rapidly evolving landscape. So how do you help end users to get prepare for this change? And also, I guess it's. I mean, I know a lot of the IT is the same, but it's not a sort of okay, we've done it, tick that box, and now we can leave it for 2 years
Yeah,
or 3 years.
yeah,
It's a constant process as well. So yeah, how does DigiCert work alongside
yeah.
customers initially and then ongoing, I suppose?
Absolutely. So we had a Quantum Readiness Day just towards the end of last year. We had a huge day talking with a lot of experts who are knowledgeable in this area, both from cryptography perspective, but also from a software and enterprise security perspective. So we've got our solutions ready now for quantum, right? So all the NIST algorithms and the capability to issue certificates associated with those is ready to go. In terms of Software Trust Manager, which is looking at the software space, we've integrated a capability with our CLI where you can do a hash-based signing using these new algorithms, and verify that. So even though the commercial tools and the third-party tools in the market are not getting ready for this, we have introduced this capability where customers can do that today using our tooling, and that will help them to familiarize themselves with these new capabilities, to be able to test stuff in the field, and I suppose to get ready for that looming date where everybody needs to do that. One of the things that we say when we talk to a lot of device manufacturers is that today, sometimes the devices are shipping with keys and certificates on them that may need to be trusted for 10 years. You think about your TV, for example. I mean, if you buy a TV today, do you want to have to change it in 2029 because the algorithm on it is weak? No, well, maybe I do. Depends on depends on whether I can convince my wife or not. But in general, you don't, right? These devices should last you 10, 15, 20 years in a lot of circumstances. So those device manufacturers need to be ready today, right? They need to start putting those keys on those devices today, even if they don't use them today. And you may have the quantum safe and the quantum vulnerable ones. So you use the quantum vulnerables for the first few years, but you transition your customers to the quantum safe ones without needing a device refresh.
And in terms of that, I mean, without wanting to scare people too much, I mean,
Yeah.
is there a danger that if people are either complacent or just leave it too late, that when everyone then is suddenly trying to do it, there won't be enough folks like yourself or whatever to help do it in a timely fashion? Is that a real risk, or is it once you know
Yeah.
what you've got to do, is it a fairly simple process to move from, if you like, pre-quantum to post-quantum
I,
solution?
I wouldn't say it's trivial. I think it's going to take a lot of planning. I think there's going to be a lot of categorization needed in terms of different devices, different software. Um, and to a degree, it's been compared to the Y2K event when we needed to make that change in just before 2000. And again, it's all about preparation and timing, right? If you leave it to the last minute, then what ends up happening is you have to focus an intense amount of your resources to resolve this. And what that will do is it will paralyze organizations in terms of things that they've committed to in their roadmap. So what we're saying now is to our organizations is from a security perspective, consider this to be like a RAS effort. Start preparing for changing these algorithms so that your products are more reliable. It keeps up the availability, it helps them to scale, and therefore it should be part of the day-to-day effort that you factor in now to the development and the security around the products that organizations are building.
Yeah, so I guess that's a sort of good sort of final message, that there is time to ensure your key management or certification strategy is future proofed, so long as you sort of start putting plans in place. And as you say, I guess it will take people a while to understand, discover all their assets, and then
Right.
work out a strategy. So is there I mean, clearly it depends to a certain extent on the size of the organization, but is there a sort of recommended time frame strategy over which to do this transition, or is that very much up to companies in terms of the resources they have available?
Yeah, so let's just even consider public trust code signing today. So if I'm a customer of ours and I go to get a new public trust code signing cert, I can get a 3-year cert, right? So we're in February of 2025. That'll bring me up to February of 2028. NIST is recommending 2029 is by the time that everybody should be transitioned onto the new quantum safe algorithm. So you're there, right? And what we're going to find in the next 6 months, or at least in this calendar year, is that like with the TLS certificates where the validity has been shortened, I think code signing is going to also go that direction. We're going to see shorter validity code signing certificates. So again, what that has led to is that it's not a set and forget, like you said at the start of the conversation. It was this needs to be more of an automated practice. You need to have more insights into what you're doing because the agility is now becoming more and more important. And the agility is about just managing the life cycle of what you're doing so that you have an evergreen capability to sign and not that you have these interruptions. And then the evolution of the security standards to make sure that you're getting stronger and that you're moving towards that posture of being aligned with the quantum safe algorithms and the certificates associated with those. So it's a journey. It's now is the time to start, right? If I was making one recommendation to an organization, it would be start to kick the tires on these new algorithms, see what a signature looks like, how you can verify it. Is that software that's on a device or is that software in the cloud? And begin to prepare for that because sure, you don't have to do it today, but if you leave it until February 2028, after you get a 3-year cert today, you then have a much smaller window to align to that standard. So I would make it a more step-by-step approach rather than leaving it to the last minute. It's like studying for an exam, right? Yeah, sure, you can cram and you might pass the exam, but if you study over time consistently, you have a better chance of acing it.
Okay, Dave, it's been great to chat, and it's a fascinating topic and some great insights as to what's going on, and some advice for folks to prepare. So really
Sure.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hey, it was lovely talking to you, and thanks. Hopefully we get to chat again.